Well, hey, good morning. It's Leif Welhaven. Many of you know me, many of you maybe not. We have a new show for you called Reinvention with Leif Welhaven. Say that 3 times fast, right? But the whole idea is I want to talk to you about the podcast today, what we're doing, why I decided to do it. So this is really just an intro to what's going to be, what you can expect with this podcast. So podcasts, vlogs, video podcasts, whatever, it's definitely a huge trend that I've been wanting to be a part of for quite a while. So I'm going to talk about that as well. And I've got this great production team, King West Media. I've got Charlie and Mark here to help me out. So let's just get to it, right? So for those of you that don't know me, again, my name is Leif Welhaven. I'm born and bred in little old Billings, Montana. I tell people all the time, I love this community so much that I was born here. I live here. Probably going to die here because I love it so much. So anyway, we're going to get started with a little bit about me so you kind of understand where I'm coming from with my angles, my life, my perspectives, really, my feelings on things. And so born 50-ish years ago. I'm not going to say how much the ish is, but let's just say it's 50-ish years ago. But anyway, I had a great upbringing with my family. They're always very supportive of me. And somewhere along the line there, I got involved in sports, which was a big part of my life and still really is. And but anyway, I talk a lot about sports, the competitiveness, things that were important to me then and still now. So that'll be a part of the show. But just know that it's not a sports theme show, but that's, again, part of my life. But as I started to get into my work life, I worked at a restaurant, which a lot of people, I know a lot of you have done that in the past as well. And I did it for 15 years. I ran a restaurant, had hundreds and hundreds of employees over the years, had worked for great bosses. And the great thing about that job is this was back in the 80s and 90s when you had to deal with like traditional advertising. There was no such thing as cell phones, no such thing as social media, those types of things. And so I really had to learn how to communicate with people on an interpersonal basis, through groups, obviously through the restaurant with people and guests and things like that. And I just learned a tremendous amount about branding and marketing and how to promote and things like that. It was just an invaluable piece of my life, really. And I always say this all the time, but it was a different world back then. Drinking and driving was actually probably encouraged, where obviously today it's not, thank God, but it was just a different world. But I learned a ton about life and about people, really, right? That's what life is about people. So after that, I got involved in the technology industry. I worked for Verizon Wireless for a long, long time. Again, as a sales manager, again, over the years, probably hundreds, if not maybe 1,000 employees over the years, traveled a lot, learned a ton, and I had to really reinvent myself to become more relevant in that marketplace. Because again, I came from an area where the technology wasn't there. Now all of a sudden I got into an industry where technology was hugely important. And so I learned a ton again about communicating, marketing, management, people. I mean, the list goes on and on about how much I learned in that industry. But really over 30 years, I had 2 jobs that really helped form who I am today. And so I think hopefully you'll find that engaging and interesting and fun. We're going to definitely keep this show fun. So I'm excited about that. So anyway, over those 2 jobs and 30 years, like I said, I just learned a ton. And so hopefully we're going to be able to bring some of that to you. But after that, I got involved in the business development world, which is, again, a big buzzword today is biz dev. What does that mean? How do you develop business? And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that through the show. It's going to be awesome to kind of bring in some guests and talk about that. But anyway, enough about me, but I just wanted you to have kind of a background as far as where I'm coming from, what I'm going to bring to the table. I'm a family guy. I love my kids. I love my family. I've got amazing dogs. I'm going to talk about them. And so again, just going to bring some of my own personality to the show, but I'm going to bring some other personalities to the show, which I think is going to be huge. So I'm excited about that. A few years ago, a lot of you maybe remember this, but a few years ago, I decided I was going to lose some weight. And that was a part of the reinvention, part of transformation, right? And so it was over the holidays, kind of like it is now. I was very reflective. This was back in 2015. And I know a lot of you probably are the same way. You get reflective over the holidays and you're like, man, I want to make some changes in my life. And so everybody has these intentions about making New Year's resolutions, making all these promises to themselves and maybe promises to others on what they want to do. But I really was serious, and I was like, gosh, I really want to make a change in my life. And so I decided, this is crazy, right? I said to myself, I'm going to work out every day for a year in the year 2016. I'm not going to skip a day, even if I'm sick, if I'm tired, if I've got to work, if I'm on the road. I'm going to go work out. And that was really important to me. And I told myself, I'm going to work out every day, and my goal is to lose 100 pounds, which for me is a lot. For a lot of you, that's like your whole person, right? So I was trying to lose a whole person. But why did I want to do that? I wanted to reinvent myself into something different. I wanted to be the same person on the inside, but maybe a little bit different on the outside. So as we talk about reinvention, we're going to keep it real. We're going to keep it raw, very authentic. And so that was what I did back in 2015. And so how do you decide that you're going to work out every day for a year, or that you're going to lose weight? How do you make those types of decisions? Hey, this year I'm going to get out of debt. Hey, this year I'm going to have better relationships. Hey, this year I'm going to go on a vacation and maybe have more family time. Whatever your goals are, they are. Maybe you're going to increase and make your spiritual life more important. Whatever the case may be, is you have to have a why that's big enough to motivate you to do it, right? You always have to, it always goes back to the why. So that's what I had to do is during that time of that season of reflection, I had to say, why do I want to do this? And so for me, just like it is for you, you have to figure that out. And so I was like, I'm going to do this for me because I want to become healthier. You know, the wellness was important. I want to live longer for my kids, grandkids, whatever the case may be, the people that love me. And so I started on my journey, right? And so we're going to have a journey as well, right? This reinvention journey. And so that's really it was a journey of reinvention for me back, gosh, almost 5 years ago now. It's crazy. But anyway, so what I did is I kind of formulated a team of people, just like I'm doing with King West Media Group, and Mark and Charlie are a part of this team helping me out. But I formulated a team to help me achieve those goals, right? And so I had a trainer and I had a nutrition coach, and I had, family helping me learn how to cook better and eat better and just take care of myself. And, rest became important, and maybe a little less drinking, a little less fun. But the why was so big that I was willing to do that. And so I started to journal it. And so instead of writing it in a journal, I put it out on social media, which a lot of us do today. That people always say, well, if it didn't happen on Facebook, if I didn't see it there, it didn't really happen, right? So I went on Facebook and I confessed this message of, hey, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to get fit. I'm going to get in the gym every day. And so when you tell, like at that time, I think I had 3,000 or 4,000 followers at the time. And so when you tell 3,000 or 4,000 people what you're going to do, you kind of have to do it, So I started on this journey. And so each day I would post something about my workout or what I'm eating or what's motivating me or whatever. And sometimes it wasn't always positive, people. Sometimes it was, man, I'm sick. I'm tired. I don't want to go. I'd rather go to the bar instead of the gym. I mean, there's a million things that we come up with, excuses, right? And what do they say about excuses, right? They're like armpits and they all stink, right? So I just had to overcome that and say, I'm going to go another day. I'm going to go another day. And so when I look back at that time, man, my knees hurt, my back hurt. I had what they call that acid reflux, where things would kind of come up. And it was all because I weighed too much, right? I was just too heavy. And so I had to make some drastic, in my mind, decisions to overcome that. So it went back to the why. So it became bigger than just my goals. It became bigger. So each day I would post. And so I got to I think it was like day 30. And I was like, gosh, I made it through a month. I might live, whatever the case may be. But people started following it, right? They said, gosh, is he really going to make it to a year? Let's just keep following him. And so each day I would journal this journey, right? This reinvention process of what I was going through. The cool thing was at about day 99, I remember this specifically. I was at the gym. I was at a cycling class, and I had this friend of mine named Mickey. She came up to me, and she's like, well, is it like tomorrow, like day 100? And I'm like, how do you know, right? And she's like, well, I've been following you, man. Everybody's following you. It's exciting. It's inspiring. It's motivating. And then That was never the intention. The reason that I started posting and journaling every day was to keep myself accountable, right? That accountability piece is so important in everything that we do with reinvention, right? So on day 100, things were going well. I mean, the weight was coming off. I was feeling good. Clothes were fitting a lot looser, all those kinds of things, which always feels good to people. But you know what happened on day 100 is it just totally changed my mind shift, right? It just changed the way I looked at things. And I thought, my gosh, if I can do this for 100 days, I can do this 3.5 more times and I'm there. I've got it, right? So I was like, yeah, I can do this. So on day 100, I was like, I knew in my mind right there that I was going to make it to day 365. So my point behind that little short story is that in 100 days, I changed the trajectory of my life. It totally changed from then forward, right? Because of a decision that I had made over those holidays, okay? And so people say, well, how did you come to that decision? Again, I always go bring it back to the why. Why do you do what you do? Why do you go to work every day? Why do you start a business? Why do you go to a particular church? Why do you do whatever it is that you do? It always goes back to the why. And so I talk about that a lot. And when I'm talking with people, I do a lot of public speaking and things like that, and teaching and coaching. And I always try to bring it back to the why, because if the why is big enough, the how does not really matter. And so that's how I looked at it. Was if I was sick, if I was tired, I didn't want to do it, didn't feel like going, I always went back to the why, which was bigger than my excuses. And so those excuses just became little bumps in the road, no big deal. And so the cool thing was, over this 100 days and beyond, is people got totally like engulfed in this story, right? And this journey of reinvention and transformation. And so people all of a sudden became a part of it. They were calling me, texting me, emailing me, DMing me, whatever. They're like, dude, this is like inspiring. You've inspired me to lose some weight, or to quit drinking, or to, have a better relationship with my kid or my folks, or whatever the case may be, or I want to get out of debt, or I want to do this, I want to do that. And you're showing me that it can be done. And so I never thought that would happen. That was just a byproduct of the journey, of the reinvention of my story, right? That's how it all happened. And so I can tell you, I'll fast forward because I don't need to take you through all 365 days, but I can tell you, as I got very close to the end, like day 360, all of a sudden I told people, hey, I'm going to work out for 365 minutes on the 365th day. Which I don't know if you know how long that is, but that's like all day at the gym, dude. I mean, it's a lot. And so the cool thing was, I told people I was going to work out all day at the gym, blah, blah, blah. I was going to go to yoga. I was going to go to cycling. I was going to lift weights. I was going to get on the elliptical. I was going to run. And so the cool thing was, a lot of my friends and people that I had met through this journey, and people that had supported me and loved on me and been part of that support system, they all reached out to me and said, man, I want to be a part of that. Can I come work out with you? Can I bring you something to eat, like an omelet or a snack or something healthy? And so basically every hour on the hour, I had a friend show up with me, show up for me, and be a part of that journey. And so they would work out with me. We'd run together. We'd do the spinning of the bike together. We'd go to yoga together, all these things. And so it was so cool, so humbling. And so at the end of the day, we ended up with a yoga class. I went and did hot yoga for the very first time. And if you've never done hot yoga, people, I'm telling you, they say it's hot. Just take hot times 10. It's like hot on steroids. It's so hot. I just walk in, I'm just like drenched, right? But anyway, these gals and a bunch of friends of mine, my girlfriend, all these wonderful people, they all show up at this thing, right? They all show up at this yoga studio, and they do this. They got like a TV cameras there. My friend's taking photos. He's like a professional photographer. His name's Adam Gross. Anyway, they like film it. They like capture these moments on film, which again was totally humbling, but it was a celebration, not of me. It was a celebration for them to go, wow, we can do anything. If he can do it, I can do it. And that's what I always tell people. I'm just a hick from the sticks from Billings, Montana. I'm nobody special. And if I can do that, you can do that. And so at the end of the year, I made it 365 days. I didn't make it to the 100 pounds. I'd lost like 93 pounds, but man, I looked great and I felt great. And I was like, man, I reinvented myself to have a better life going forward. And man, it was so cool. So why do I tell you that? That's part of the journey. That's part of the story. That's part of why this podcast has come about, is I want to tell those stories of reinvention. And so we're going to have people come on the show. We're going to have guests. We're going to have a weekly podcast. This thing's going to go out on audio. It's going to go out on video. So it'll be, hopefully it'll be all over the place. We'll show you where you can subscribe to it. Basically all the places that you get your current podcasts, you'll be able to find Reinvention with Leif Welhaven. And so, the important thing is I want you to be involved with me. Some of those shows are going to be live. Some will be recorded. It'll just depend. But our goal is to have a show out every week, same time, same place, same bat channel, so to speak. So I'll have a website that you can go to called reinventionleif.com. So that'll be cool. We'll be on Spotify, Apple iTunes. We'll be everywhere that you can get your podcasts. But the intention is to get you involved. So I want to know what's important to you. What topics do you want to hear reinvention stories on? Right? So this whole year has been crazy. We've all talked about this, right? The year of COVID, the year of social injustice, all these things have come about. I mean, our whole world has changed. Obviously, we all know that, right? And so people are having to reinvent themselves. They're having to reinvent their business. Excuse me. They're reinventing their organization. They're reinventing themselves with regards to health, fitness, mental health, all those types of things. They're reinventing their finances, reinventing relationships, their family, their church. I mean, the list goes on and on, right? I was just telling the production guys, Mark and Charlie, about this, like with the whole social injustice thing. Our sports teams, they're changing their names, which is probably long overdue, right? We don't have the Washington Redskins anymore or the Washington football team. It's a boring name now, but it's a whole lot more politically correct and a lot more inclusive. And so we want to be like that on this show. We want to be inclusive and bring everybody in, right? Because everybody's important. They would say Black Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, Native American Lives Matter. I'm just here to tell you all lives matter, and that's what we'll be about on this show for certain. So anyway, so the list goes on and on when you talk about the reinvention topic. So we're going to have people come on that maybe are in the process of their reinvention. Maybe they're thinking of starting a reinvention. Maybe they've done it. Maybe they've reinvented one of those topics and beyond. And so when I started to think about the names for the show, I was kind of like hung up. I've been thinking about doing the show for like 2 years. And I was like, how do I do it? I need a direction. I need a theme. I need an umbrella direction of where to take the show. And so Mark and Charlie and I sat down and we started throwing out some ideas. I talked with my son and my daughter, and we're all just kind of trying to figure it out. Talked with my girlfriend, just trying to figure out what do we want to do? What's important to me? What do I want to share with people that's going to be impactful to you, right? And so that's how the whole reinvention theme came up, because we're like, man, everything that people are trying to do today with adapting to working from home or working in the office or bringing your pet to work or, your church is online or, you're all zoomed out. I get that. I'm on Zoom. Feels like 8 hours a day. So I totally get it. Mark and I were just talking about, the days of going to work for a large company and working there for 35, 40 years, punching out, retiring, living off a pension forever. Those days are gone. And so millennials and Gen X, Gen Z, all the different generations, we're all having to adapt. And you use the word pivot a lot, but we're all having to reinvent ourselves. And so it's important, right? Because those jobs, like we were just discussing, those aren't going to be around anymore. And so being able to talk about how how we're going to move forward, how we're going to reinvent ourselves to more of a gig paying type of jobs, more of a gig society, gig workplace. We talk about that a lot. So we're going to talk about those things. Look at education. Gosh, the whole school year looks a whole lot different because of COVID. And so the school district, teachers, students, parents, everybody's having to reinvent everything that they're doing. And so hats off to everybody for making 2020 an epic year. You are part of history. It may not have been the historic year that you wanted or that we all wanted, but it's just a time to readjust, re-rally, reset, right? Pause, reflect, and then move forward into 2021. And so as we move forward into the next year, we're going to talk about all these topics, which is totally exciting. So what can you expect from the show? Once a week, 30 minutes-ish, probably, depending on the guest who we have on, engaging in relevant topics, engaging host, hopefully, right? Engaging guests from all over the country. So some will be local, some will be regional. Hopefully some will be national as our podcast grows, but just know we're committed to bringing you engaging topics that hopefully you'll want to listen to and will add value to your lives, which I think is always going to be important. So I kind of made myself a note here to talk about kind of a call to action. And so the call to action is from me to you is to say, who do you want to hear from? What topics do you want to hear about? What reinvention stories are important to you? What do you want to learn about, right? And so there's so many of this that, like I said, we want you to be involved. Even though it's Reinvention with Leif Welhaven, it's really about you and your stories, your reinventions, and we're just going to use this podcast as a vessel to really get that message out. And again, hopefully it adds value to you, your business, your family, your organization. I mean, everybody's listening to podcasts, right? I have so many that I love to listen to. And the reason I listen to them is they're fun, engaging. It causes me to think and reflect and make some changes in my own life. I was listening to one the other day. I don't know if you've ever heard of Ed Milet, but he's amazing. His is called Max Out, and he's just got this gruff voice, and he's big, he's strong, he's a powerful man. Anyway, one of the things he talked about was separating yourself. How do you separate yourself from your competition? And so he talked about maybe on Friday nights, instead of going to the bar or out to eat or to do this or take Friday afternoons off and go golf or goof off, which I'm all for. I'm not saying that. But what he talked about was, man, wouldn't it be cool to separate yourself and then maybe work a little extra on Friday, work a little later, separate yourself from your competition, work when they're not working. What do people see when you're not in front of the camera? What are you doing behind the scenes? Those kinds of things I think are hugely important. He talks about, maybe on the weekend, instead of just making it screwing off all weekend and goofing off, maybe you get more things done, be more productive. And so I thought that was really, really good. And so people take, especially over the holidays, you talk about, Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Eve Day, Christmas Day, New Year's Day. Those are days. It's not like, Thanksgiving month, Merry Christmas month. It's not a month long, it's a day. And so it's okay to take some time with family and reflect and do all the wonderful Christmas traditions and holiday traditions that you or your family might have. But gosh, it really just rung through to me like, gosh, it doesn't have to be a whole month long, Leif. You can actually get a lot done, especially during your downtime over the holidays, that maybe helps further a podcast or helps further another person's life or helps further your business or maybe furthers your fitness or whatever, right? We don't always have to sit there and go, well, I'm going to gain 20 pounds over Christmas. I guess I'll hit it in January. Well, don't gain the 20. Then it makes it a lot easier to start in January, right? So anyway, you get the drift. But again, I'm not saying I'm Ed Milet. I'm not saying we're going to max out, but hopefully Reinvention will be something that will ring through to you and be important to what's important to you. So you're going to be able to get some information from my website, reinventionleif.com. You'll be able to contact me through there. I'll have my email on there as well. And then we'll have my YouTube channel that you can subscribe to and be a part of all these and get notifications when we're going to release these podcasts. But again, the goal is to bring one to you every week that hopefully you'll get something out of that'll be enjoyable, fun, engaging, where you can really see how reinvention can maybe be a perfect topic for you for 2021. So again, Leif Welhaven, Reinvention. I look forward to speaking with you and seeing you every week. And hopefully we will make 2021 a year to remember, an epic one. Thanks. We'll see you soon.